Hi everyone, it's Kieron from Proteus Astrology, and I hope you're all well and being agile because there's such a lot going on. I planned this as a kind of short update, but it seems I don't do short, as once I got going, the thread started to unravel and it turned out to be rather long. So here we go. Please bear with the method. It's early June. The days are long and we should be happy, and yet things don't feel quite right. So it's time for this update and review. Many pieces of the jigsaw are still missing, I think. We cannot relax fully as there's a buzz in the air from the extra photonic light, and we still have a lot of adjusting to do post-eclipse and pre-solstice, as there's a bevy of major retrogrades coming, which will backtrack and unravel all the multiple narratives going on. Then it will get a massive boost to get forwards again in October. So this turbulent period of shifts comes just after the second eclipse. So I wouldn't guarantee anything settling down yet. There are major changes ahead, so best stay vigilant and prepared. What I'd like to do today, or in this talk, is to mention that Venus is now in Cancer and Mars is now in Leo, and they're roughly following one sign behind. Venus is behind Mars, and ingresses can create a change of emphasis, which you may sense directly as a changing of gears, or as I'd like to call it, a Shiva dance, a little bit like a crankshaft moving. So Venus in Cancer, here we've got the more beautiful version of Venus by Botticelli. I mean, there is a dark side to Venus, but we'll go with this one. It can be nice or not, depending on what type of values you have. Let's say it's in the 4th house. That would amplify the Cancerian traits, and you might think about home or value family relationships above all others. At the moment, well, this year, I'm focusing more on Venus because I'm in a Venus-ruled year of zodiacal releasing. So all the aspects of Venus are going to affect me more obviously. But for you, that might be a different planet, so that might be worth looking into. But so once Venus is here in this sign, if we were already sensitive or touchy about what we like or don't like, then that could become even more pronounced. Not just about being picky, but profound and sudden switching of values about what makes us feel secure, who we want or do not want to be with anymore. At least one strand of when the moon is in Taurus, ruled by Venus, is also true when Venus is in Cancer, ruled by the moon. So Venus entered the moon's house on the 3rd of June, and Cancer people love their food. Moon in Taurus loves food too. I don't know about you, but I'm enjoying my food a lot more these days. Healthy food, prepared well and lavished with good intentions. Homemade, of course, not that delivery junk. And that helps to make it more nourishing. But we also might be valuing memories more, and the people that you've known who perhaps you haven't seen for a long time. Venus in Cancer gives us an archive of memories to treasure, almost like a bank account. This may happen especially if Venus is in the 7th house in your case, just as an example. It may be a good way, while Venus is there, to work out your differences, coming to closure or establishing a new kind of contract, to be more careful and caring with that person, to be more concerned about their feelings and your own. It should be an equal relationship. And that's ever more difficult in these days of divide and rule politics. Mercury is retrograde now, so I thought it would be a good idea to just go back to what I said earlier in my Moon in Taurus video. You can listen there. I'll just summarize what I said, which is that there could be a kind of mother-daughter rivalry because the mother is represented by the moon and Venus represented by the daughter. So it all depends on whether that relationship is smooth or not. And so this could play out in different ways. If you go back to the article, I said the picture usually needs to be nuanced. The mother and daughter might be best of friends in Taurus, where the love flows both ways, but Venus in Cancer, the daughter can be a rival for the favor of the menfolk. It may or may not play out that way, but I have certainly seen cases of that. And but definitely Venus would make us more sensitive, which might be a good thing or might not be, depending. I think I might have mentioned there too in that previous video and article that Lana Del Rey is a good example of a moon in Taurus and the sun in Cancer with Venus in Leo, so quite a dramatic, moody kind of singer. But an even better example, I think, of this mutual reception, which is the two feminine archetypes in signs ruled by their opposite archetype, is the actor Yul Brynner, who was born in 1920. This combination, I think, comes with a lot of sizzling charm, in his case especially, with Moon in Taurus and the Sun conjunct Venus in Cancer, along with Pluto in the 12th house. So they may have been his hidden helpers. Here he has hair, but his shaved head became his signature style. So he stood out for that reason, plus his very intense looking eyes. These natives are seductive, sensual, and emotionally warm, plus the intensity. I see Neptune a lot in the charts of actors and film directors, and the camera certainly adored him, which is what it takes to sustain a career in film. It's something to do with the quality of light in the film that transmits the charisma very well. He had Neptune conjunct Mercury right on his ascendant in Leo. So you might say that his very presence communicated directly through the screen to the viewer. And being naturally kingly, of course, is represented by his most famous role as the King of Siam. But he also played Pharaoh too, another very powerful characters. With Jupiter there too, it almost guaranteed his fame, I think, for his very striking appearance, because it's in the first house. Plus he lived to Jupiterian excess, smoking and drinking regardless of public opinion. So this allure with Neptune, or let's call it glamour, is in the first house, appealed to photographers, and the most well-known is George Platt Lyons, who was born in 1907, who gravitated towards Yul Brynner to take these photos of the 22-year-old and posing naked as boldly as only a Leo ascendant can. These might go viral on the net if they were published today of any actor, but 100 years ago, privacy was more sacrosanct. I think the interesting thing is that Brynner himself was a photographer, so it all comes together in this combination of Neptune on the ascendant and Sun in Cancer. There just is something about him that still communicates today through these images. I just wanted to mention as well, for me it's like, wow, there was Mercury Cazimi, and this concept might not be so well known. It's from a Greek word meaning in the heart of the sun. So back on Thursday, June 10th, on the eclipse basically, Mercury was Cazimi to the sun. And normally I don't notice this much, but the day after, Friday, I was writing solidly all day long without stop and without feeling tired. So Mercury certainly got hold of me and burned me up in the sun. There's some energy to this, which I noticed strongly this time, but thankfully for me it was at least very productive. And then of course Mars is on the move, and it entered Leo on the 12th of June, that's today, along with the moon going into Cancer. So this could be a great shout of yay or nay, depending on whether you think of it as too much or too little. The moon moves on very quickly, but Mars stays until the 30th of July. And it might not be fashionable to like Mars, but I do appreciate this warrior archetype. Once it awakens, it's hard to put back in the box. It's actually great for Pride Month too, as Mars in Leo is strutting proud. But anyone with the urge to be athletic knows this drive, which is visceral and cannot be denied, or at least at your peril. Try to suppress it, as it's boisterous energy with moods changing fast in Leo. But it could show up as a rush of physical energy to get things done. A burst of sports outdoors might be on the cards, or even more fun-style fitness routines, playing games instead of doing the mindless exercises. And also remembering what it was like just to feel pure joy moving and flopping around, just like when you were a kid. So look to where this is in your chart to get more of a sense of how and in which area it will affect you. But what's nice too is that Mars in Leo helps sustain the physical fire, as it is in a fixed mode, so you might be able to do more than you thought possible, or last longer and have more stamina. So another thing is that Mars and the Sun go really well together, as the Sun is welcomed in Aries. Notice I deliberately avoided saying the word exalted, and though I love that word personally, I do feel that it's often used without thinking of the consequences. Let's say the Sun is ultra strong in Aries, therefore Mars is also strong in Leo, and so there's a connection when Mars arrives in Leo. But its corollary at the other end of the seesaw of exaltation is, in the traditional terminology, is detriment, and that can be worse to say to anyone. It's well known to put clients in a negative trance, which is not desirable, as they may become hypervigilant about all that's bad in their lives, just because the astrologer has uttered the D word like a magic spell. So perhaps we might say mind your horoscope side manner to astrologers. It's not a big thing, but I just thought I'd mention that. Especially because another way to think about this is to amplify the potential of any placement that could be perceived as negative, just through sheer alchemical wizardry and force of imagination. Just as much as we can seek the germ of what is positive in the negative, so it can balance things out in the end. And all things are possible in the quantum approach to astrology, where intention, vibration, and frequency can matter more than what is assumed to be fixed or negative. It's your choice in the end to monitor what you think. And I have a feeling that this approach might become even more important as the year progresses. So then, as if all this isn't enough, the Sun goes into Cancer on the 21st of June, as it does every year. But this marks the shift to cardinal energy again from all this mutable information overload while it's been in Gemini. So we might feel more emotionally sensitive and mirroring folk around while the Sun is still in Gemini, and that could have an impact on your moods, but that will shift once the summer solstice gets into action. It's one of the most powerful events of the year, indicating maximum daylight hours for light bathing. It's preceded the day before by a trine of the Sun to Jupiter, which goes retrograde, then back towards its journey back into Aquarius, and then by Mercury going forward the day after. So it's best to make big decisions then on the 22nd and do your big dreaming before or in this build up to the solstice. Here are some images of Stonehenge, so it's a great idea to get somewhere like that if you can, to witness the sun rising over the headstones there. You know, it's an unforgettable experience, weather permitting. I witnessed this event in 2018 with others from the astrology conference, and it was very uplifting in a way that's hard to put into words, but definitely something to experience if you can get a chance. So I usually say enjoy what you can while it lasts, in alignment with the current planetary climate. We're not here forever, and that is maybe a good thing in the final analysis. Personally, I come more alive when the Sun moves into Leo than Cancer, but I'll stick with Venus in Cancer and Mars in Leo for now. But Venus goes into Leo on the 28th and then catches up with Mars. And who is seducing here, we wonder? This painting by Botticelli, "Me Loved His Venus," is suggestive, as Mars is shown supine and Venus is erect. The fawns look very mischievous. This glorious conjunction of these two archetypes, which are essential in any personal dynamic, happens on July 14th. So I'm looking forward to that fusion of art, love, valor, and passion in the dazzling light of the creative sun, which they haven't managed to blot out yet. As long as the dynamo couple, you could call them Ben-Mar or Marvin, are not fighting, they are fusing. And I will have a lot more to say about the Venus retrograde in Capricorn, which happens in November, December of this year, as that is on its 8-year journey back to its place 8 years ago, which had a direct impact on my life. So I will be on the lookout for people boomeranging back from 8 years ago. And maybe this will impact your life too, at least where you review your values and the status of your relationships, but especially if you happen to have Venus in Capricorn. And just to contemplate for a minute as we gather energy to deal with the rest of 2021, this is another image from Stonehenge, and the light coming across the landscape. So thank you for getting this far and listening to me, indulging my meditations on these topics. I do appreciate it. And just to mention, my contact details are here: eusastro@protonmail.com. Go to my website, like or share the video if you don't mind doing that. And just to remind people, if they want to ask me any questions, I do chart readings, looking at solar returns, even Muse asteroids. That's one of my specialities. Also astrolocation, and I do take this very multiple approach to everything. So thanks again, and look forward to the next time.